welcome back to Kester's Forest. Now, growing up in the 80s and the 90s as I did, there was always one system that I really wanted to own but never could. And I am of course talking about the fabled Neo-Geo from SNK. Now, everyone knew a friend of a friend of a friend who owned one, but I never actually saw one in real life in anyone's actual home. I think I might have seen them in the arcades, but that was about it. I was reduced to oohing and ahhing over the amazing graphics in magazines and oohing and ahhing even more over the insane price tag of some of the games. Sadly, the Neo-Geo was very expensive and really just completely out of most people's reach and budget. Fast forward a little bit into the late 90s, when I was probably more likely to be found down the pub than playing a PlayStation, SNK had one last attempt to get the Neo-Geo into people's homes in the form of the Neo-Geo CD. CDs had come down in price at this point and could fit pretty much the same amount of storage on them as one of their mammoth expensive cartridges. So the idea was it would be a little bit cheaper for the consumer. But sadly, it was a little bit too little too late, and the PlayStation had really taken a hold at this point. So I thought to myself, well, maybe that's a way for me now to go and get one of those things in my home. Maybe that's a bit cheaper. Unfortunately, even the Neo-Geo CD is quite pricey, even so are the games. But I found one on Sendico for a price that I thought might be worth an attempt. It was £90, came fully boxed with 2 controllers and a power supply, and I even managed to pick up a second control stick for another £20. So I thought, it's worth a try. So I bought it, got it back here, and I thought, let's see if we can't get this thing working and then finally have a Neo-Geo in my own home. So with no further ado, let's take a look. So here we are. Lovely box, actually not in too bad condition there, really. Never seen one of these before, so it's quite exciting. And flipping it over to the back, you can see all the Japanese text there and these 2 beautiful controllers that it comes with, these clicky pads. Neo-Geo CD. Put yourself in the action with stunning graphics and superlative sound. And then this control stick, which I also bought separately for £20, I believe it came out specifically for the CD. Now, taking a look inside, we've got the power supply. That's going to need an adapter. And then we have, oh yes, here we go, some AV cables to plug that into the TV. And I think this might be one of the control pads. Yes, it is. Looking a little scuffed, but not too bad. It seems to be in fairly good condition. And I think there should be another one in here. Yep, there we go. Lovely. So fingers crossed both of those work. And then, of course, the unit itself. Let's take it out of the box. So here we go. Now, first things first, it doesn't look too bad. It's a little scuffed, it's a little dusty, but all in all, actually fairly good condition, and that's going to clean up pretty well, so I'm not too worried about that. Flipping it over then, yeah, same on the back, on the underneath, and then here you've got yourself your power, your AV out, your S-Video, and then of course your standard composite as well with the audio. So let's try the CD drive. Ooh, a little stiff. So maybe that's something we can take a look at. And then, good grief, it's a little dusty. Yeah, that could affect gameplay for a start. So we'll have to clean that up. But I think really the only way we're going to know if anything's wrong with it is to plug it in and see if it works. Okay, so that's obviously a good sign. It's powering on. Don't worry about the glitching, that's my TV. So I think this is asking for a CD. So I have a game, Last Guardian 2. Let's put that in and see what we get. Nothing. It's not reading the disc. Okay. So, pushing this down here, which is the door mechanism, the laser is coming on and off, but it's obviously not reading the discs. Let's put the disc back, and you can see that pressing it down again off screen, it's not spinning up. so that's not good. Also, I noticed here in the corner, probably the reason why the door wasn't opening properly was this spring not quite inserted correctly. As you can see on the right, that's how it's meant to look. So, you know, cosmetic, but let's take a look. All right, let's open it up and see what we can find. Not too dirty, actually. It's actually better than I thought. Based on what we saw at the top, this is actually not too bad. So I'm just taking a look over the CD drive to see if there's anything obvious, and while I'm here I can actually reach this spring that I saw and just pop it back in to the hinge. So I'm just going to do that now, and that probably yeah, there we go, that's a little bit better. Probably needs a bit of grease, but yeah, that's opening much better now. So I'm going to plug the drive back in while it's open and see if the mechanism switch underneath has anything to do with it. See if I can spot what's happening when I try and play the disc. Right, so testing the mechanism out, I can see that it's still making the laser activate. So the spindle here isn't moving very freely, which is not spinning up, but I thought, you know, I'll just clean the laser. That's obviously a good place to start and see if that makes any difference. And spoiler alert, it did not. So off camera, I made a bit of a discovery. I took the mechanism out to see if I could sort of try and sort something out here, and I managed to pop this spindle up slightly. It had got stuck on its plastic frame. You can see it's spinning freely now, and is raised by just 1 millimeter. So it appears someone had jammed it down. So I unpopped it, I put the mech back in the system and powered it on to see if it made any difference. Aha! Okay, it wasn't doing that before. We've got a track reading. This is exciting. This seems to be doing something. But this is what you would normally get if you put a music CD into a player. So let's hit play and see what happens. It was at this point I made a discovery. I hadn't actually purchased a game at all. I'd purchased the soundtrack, which is why it's doing this. It's playing the soundtrack from the game. So I burned myself a disc to see what would happen. Let's see. Unbelievable! It works! That's all it was. Well, it just goes to show. Let's get this thing cleaned up and play some games. So there you have it. Well, I'm super happy with that. It really was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. At one point, I really thought I was going to be in for a tough time. And it just goes to show that these listings sometimes marked as faulty really aren't so faulty after all. And sometimes it is worth just taking the risk. It was a bit of a gamble, but it paid off. And I think really worth it in the end. So, what do you think? Is that the kind of thing you would do? Would you take a risk and see what you can do? It's worth bearing in mind that those CD drives do seem to be able to get stuck really easily, and it might be something worth having a look at. Well, that's it for this week, and I'll see you next time on Kester's Forest.